Welcome everyone to the Collector's Cut. I am Peter, and joining me as always is David.
Buongiorno.
This is a movie podcast, and today is something of a standalone episode that's mostly tied into a season we're doing in a few months, which is we're doing a Criterion season. And we had one little episode kind of before the Odyssey comes out next week where we couldn't really start a new season, so we're doing an extra Criterion movie. And that Criterion movie today is Beau Travail, although I think it might be pronounced Beau Travail or something like that. I can't speak French or pronounce French words, so I'm not even going to try. But yes, this is from 1999, directed by Denis, and this is, I think, kind of her like big kind of like, you know, prestige movie that got all the accolades. It's considered like, I think Sight and Sound have it as the 7th best French film of all time, that kind of thing.
Not French film, like film, period.
Oh, just all time. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
I misread that factoid then. Apart, I just assumed it was the 7th best French movie. That's even more impressive.
Nope, it's escalated, which is they apparently, I looked up that Sound and Sight thing. They do it every 10 years. It wasn't on the list for 2002. It wasn't on the list for 2012. But for some reason in 2022, they're like, yeah, this slaps. Let's put it on there.
I kind of get it. Like, you know, it's not like movies over time kind of like regain appreciation. Not that I'm saying this didn't have it at the time, because I'm sure it did, but like I can see the logic of why it never made it on that list, you know, especially since the people making the list might have changed in that time. For a start. It's 20 years after all. Some old people retired, some new young blood came in, and they're like, "No, we're putting the Beau Travail on this list, baby. That's what's happening." So, anyway, we'll start spoiler free, of course, as we always do. We'll give you a warning before we get into the spoilers, and of course, if you're enjoying the show on YouTube, hit the like button. Helps us out a bunch if you do. And of course, you can support everything over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and get some bonuses, but I'll tell you more about that at the end of the episode. So, just a little Criterion homework here in terms of you know, catch it up. If you don't know what Criterion Collection is, if this is you stumbling into this, it's, you know, basically a label, a distributor of movies, primarily in the US, although they do have UK releases as well these days, where they put out prestigious kind of like art house films or foreign films or classic movies. Do a lot of Kurosawa, Ingmar Bergman, all that kind of stuff. They have spine numbers, and it's very much people who are into collecting movies and people who are into cinema tend to like the Criterion Collection. And we actually did a show for a while called the Criterion Cut, which was like a companion to this show where we do one movie a month, and that would be a Patreon thing. Now, I've actually been slowly making them public and putting them on YouTube. And if you listen to the audio feed, I'm putting up a bunch, or I just put up a bunch over the last like week on the audio feed, and that'll happen again at some point, maybe right before the Criterion season happens. So they're all available, and eventually they'll all be out there. But we like doing Criterion movies. We didn't stop doing the show because we didn't want to keep doing them. We just, you know, something had to give, and that was the show that got the axe. So I'm happy to be doing some Criterion movies as part of Collector's Cut. So here we are. I knew nothing about this when it was chosen, so went in pretty blind as to what the genre even was, never mind any like plot details. So went in completely cold. Did you know anything about this before we watched?
Not a goddamn thing. The only thing I knew is you actually watched me do it. As soon as we wrapped up the previous review, we were like, oh, how long is this movie? Because Criterion movies, historically for us, are always the ones that are like, yeah, 3 hours, whatever. Just who cares? But this one is a very merciful 90 minutes, almost on the dot. So kudos.
Merci.
Yes.
Merciful. No, I'm mixing words up.
I mean, that's thank you.
I know.
So yes.
And the title of this movie apparently means good job in French.
I like to imagine that they like named it that specifically, so it's just like as it's being marketed, it's like, nah, they did a good job.
So yeah, I mean, honestly, to give a broad premise of the movie, this is definitely a very art house movie that doesn't have a ton of plot. It's not exactly something where there's lots of events happening constantly. It's more meditative. It's more about being in the head of one character as he recollects things that he went through when he was serving in the French Foreign Legion in the desert. And it's really just about how he felt about this new recruit that kind of joined the squad and his kind of disdain towards him. And that's all I'm going to say, because I feel like anything else beyond that would be spoiler territory. So But there's some tension, but a lot of it's just kind of like watching the routine of like their drills and their training and what their life is like sort of day to day in this. But it's very, you know, it's not presented as a straightforward plot narrative. It's more kind of like, oh, we're just getting these glimpses where there's no dialogue, and it's all very much about the cinematography being pretty and just kind of taking in the atmosphere. And, you know, it's very ethereal in that sense. We're bordering on Terrence Malick at points with some of the moments. Yes.
Pete, like I was sitting in my car driving around getting some errands done before we began recording this.
Yes.
And I was working through all the things I wanted to say in my intro, and you literally said every word that I picked out already. Like ethereal. I was thinking like, yeah, very ethereal. And then you just like, oh, there it is. So,
well, if it makes you feel any better, David, I did not pre-plan anything I just said. I just said what came to mind.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. That's fair. I mean, it just shows we're on the same page with this, because, yeah, it's all of those things.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, we'll get into it. So, David, what did you think of Beau Travail?
I liked it. I mean, I definitely did. I a lot of times on the Criterion cut, whenever we were doing them, I felt like it was a little bit out of my league. It was just like a tiny bit of like, you know, I'm going to try to speak intelligently about this movie, but it does feel like it's working on a level that I just don't understand. But like, I always felt like between the two of us, we had a good grasp on it. I don't even know where to begin with this one. Like, this is so far into the realm of like meditative, as you said, ethereal, like so much of the movie is just setting the mood, setting the idea of what this world, what this guy's day to day was like. It's so funny. I don't want to say what it is, obviously, because I don't want to spoil anything that happens. But I looked up the Wikipedia page after I watched it, right? And if you go to plot, after a little bit of preamble, the first action it talks about that gets the plot going is something that happens 20 minutes before the end of the movie. Right. That's another thing I was going to say when I was in the car. You just keep doing it. No, it's incredible to me that like that even can happen. Like it's especially I didn't look up anything about the plot. I didn't look up anything about like whatever, you know, was coming up. But what I did look up as the movie was going on was like what makes this such a like big movie in terms of like how do people feel about it. I wasn't looking up specifics, but then I saw like the Sight and Sound thing of like 7th best movie of all time. I saw people saying that like this movie has the greatest ending of all time, and I'm like, how have I never heard of this movie?
Do you know what? It's such a shame you read that before you finished the movie, because I think the thing that stuck out to me most about this was how much the ending hit. Like, because the movie, I liked the movie. The movie was good, and it was like, and a lot of that is just how good the cinematography is and how beautiful it looks constantly. Like, I am so sorry for anyone who watched this before HD was a thing, because watching this as a blurry SD version must have sucked, because it is gorgeous in HD. Like, there's just all these, like, you know, salt flatlands and them like doing all their drills in the desert and like, you know, a shot of the ocean. Like, it's just all just eye candy and beautiful 1:6:6 to 1 aspect ratio. It's gorgeous stuff. And the ending, which again, I cannot give a single bit of context away for what that is, but that final scene, if you want to call it that, it's such a out of left field thing that at first you're not really sure how to take, but then when you think about it in the context of the movie, I don't know if there's many endings that kind of almost like made me recontextualize what the rest of the movie was actually saying as much as this scene at the end of this. And it does it without a single word of dialogue and just a simple action. And it made... honestly, it's impressive in how simple it is, but it's so weirdly different from the rest of the movie that it's actually kind of ballsy, but works completely. And I want to applaud that. So it's a shame that you kind of were expecting something impressive at the end.
I was still impressed. Like, that's the thing. Like, it wasn't even that, like, the fact that it came so far out of left field, like, it caught me off guard. And it wasn't even the fact, I mean, I really can't talk about it because it is so spoilery.
No, you cannot talk about it. If there's one thing you cannot spoil in this goddamn movie, it's those last 5 minutes.
I the only thing I'll say is that I was about to click off. Like, I was like, okay, we're done with the movie, because credits started rolling, and then there's more, and I was like, oh, okay. And I think it's important to know that there's more. Like, audience, if you're going to watch this, don't, as soon as the credits start rolling, don't leave. You need to stick around. So no, I mean, it's top to bottom, it's going to be so difficult to talk about this because like, how do you talk about a mood? You know, how do you talk about like the feeling of Djibouti in whatever time, like I guess mid 90s, you know, like it's so strange, but like it's pinpoint accurate. Exactly the mood that I think they were aiming for, they managed to nail, like through everything, the cinematography, the sounds, the acting, all of it.
Yeah, what's interesting, I actually wasn't sure when it was set, because you said guess mid-90s, and I'm like, I don't even, like, because there's very little to go on, to be honest, as to, like, what time period it's in, like, other than just broadly saying it's definitely somewhere between the 60s and the 90s, but it could be anywhere in that window, honestly.
Yeah, my thought process is that, and I believe this to be in the context of the movie, like an actual thing's happening, they keep on going to a dance club that's playing pretty techno hits. So,
sure, so maybe at least 80s then?
Yeah, at least 80s up to 90s. That's where I would put that.
That's fair. That's fair logic. They also play some opera music at some points as well in the soundtrack. Which is,
and as we all know, opera was banned in the 90s, so I guess it can't be there.
Of course, yes. The 90s were too hip for opera. Come on now. Yeah. I like it is a mood piece, but like very quickly, like you realize that, and I think if you're like, for some people that's going to turn them off immediately, but it's the sort of thing where if it hits you just the right way, where you're enjoying the mood that it's kind of starting to create, and you realize, because there's this structural thing where we're seeing the main character Gallop, and again, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing his name, but Gallop, we see him kind of like after the events of everything else at his home in Marseille in France, and it's basically him sort of reminiscing in his own mind and narrating about what happened when he was kind of the commander of this unit of French legionnaires, and kind of like contrasting his life now to his life then, and it kind of, you know, implies some things might happen later, but we're not really sure. But it's very much like the routine of everything. It's like with the routine of him doing stuff in his house, but then the routine of like what they were doing on a typical day with their drills. Like, you know, they're doing an obstacle course, or they're doing they're rowing a canoe or whatever they're doing. Like, and there's so many like sequences that is just an extended shot of like their training routine, but there's almost like a rhythmic music video quality to it, where like there's one shot in particular where they're sort of they're jumping over these high beams and then ducking and crawling under these low beams, and we just stay static as we watch these guys run around and do it over and over again, but there's like a sort of sound to the jump, and then the down in the ground, slide through, and then the heavy breathing as they run away, like, and it's almost rhythmic where you just kind of get into this rhythm of it, and it's like almost hypnotic at a certain point where you're just kind of like, yep.
There's a scene later on where they're doing like a stretching thing, like you see them all like laying out, and I swear to God, it's just synchronized swimming, but they're just on land. Like they're all just, it's this entire group, they're all just like moving all in sync, all laying on their backs at the same time, stretching out their legs and whatnot. And it's just the cinematography that's driving this as like, this isn't just stretching, this is a ballet. This is showing like them all in sync and giving this specific feeling of it as well.
Yeah, and there's some clear themes to talk about, especially once, you know, you've gotten to the end and you can kind of reflect on the whole thing. I'm not going to say what they are, because I feel like that's getting into spoiler territory. But certainly, you know, like the main character, how he views his place in the world and the Legionnaires, what it means to him, and how he feels threatened by others and his actions therefore after, and maybe what the root cause of all that is. Like, that's the sort of thing we're exploring throughout. And it's all kind of done with just seeing these moments. And we hear, obviously we hear some narration from him, which do kind of shed light on some things, but it's still very much from his perspective, where it's how he's interpreting why he feels certain things, not necessarily like factually why he is feeling those things. So there's definitely some room there to interpret and like get some more out of it. So, but yeah, like, you know, you literally go like 60 minutes of this movie, and like two main like minor details have been established before we get into the actual main like thing that moves things forward, and that's by design. It's what it is, and if that sounds bad to you, then stay far away. But if you want to be kind of hypnotized by good cinematography and sort of let your mind wander into it and think about what it's saying, then it's doing great stuff. So it's very good.
Yeah, no, I again, I thought at a certain point in this movie, I'm not going to be able to like handle this. Like, it's not going to be something I'm going to be able to speak on, because I didn't know if there was going to be plot. Like, I thought we were going to get to the end of this movie and it was just going to be like, and that was the day in the life of like this guy and like how he was.
In David's head, he just heard Beyonce and Destiny's Child say, I don't think you can handle this.
Yes, exactly. No, you know what it really reminded me of by the time it was done? And this is the highest compliment I can give. It reminded me of Perfect Days.
Oh, interesting.
It's more ethereal. It's more of that, but it is just kind of like, let's just focus on the mood of this guy's life more than anything. But I would also say, in terms of endings, it had not an identical ending by far, but in terms of like it just being this period, this solid point that changes and can recontextualizes a bunch more of like what the movie was. I think it really hits that same sort of nail for me. And I lauded that ending. I loved Perfect Days endings.
I mean, they're both art house movies, and they definitely both focus on characters, and there's definitely meditative qualities to both. I think there's definitely a difference in kind of the, like, you know, because the character in Perfect Days, it's all about his sort of normal life and like him sort of making the most of a normal existence. Whereas this character is a bit more flawed, and something clearly has happened to cause a change in his life. So there's inherently a different kind of like sense of momentum to it, even though it is still quite meditative. But I get what you're saying in terms of comparing them. So, yeah, honestly, I don't know how much more we can say without spoilers, because I feel like we have to start talking and dissecting and whatnot. I mean, I think the funny thing is that I don't know how long this is going to be. I feel like I could see it being a fairly short review, all things considered, just because of how little like plot stuff there actually is. It's all going to be just analysis, but I don't think that's going to necessarily go for 2 hours, because like at a certain point we'll have analyzed what at least we feel capable of analyzing. So yeah. I do think it's interesting though that outside of the main character, a character that he kind of fixates on, the kind of the new guy on the squad, Centane, and then his Gallup's superior, the sort of the whatever his rank is, Commander Bruno. Everyone else, they're all just credited Legionnaire. They don't have names. They're just Legionnaire. I think that's an interesting touch.
Oh yeah, it's because they're not important to the story, but we still need to show like the camaraderie. We still need to show the group aspect of it.
They're important as a group, but they're not important individually.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So
now, before we jump too deep into it, what do I know the main actor Denis Lavant from? Because I swear to God I recognize this guy.
It does look familiar. I'll put a click on him.
I cannot place it. He's got like 250 credits, and I glanced through them and I couldn't figure it out.
Okay, yeah, I was hoping his most known for section was going to illuminate quickly, but that did not happen. Look, he's a working man. You know, I'm going through. He's kept busy. His career here. He's kept things busy. He's a prolific actor, if you will.
The only thing that I think I could have recognized him from, and I'm not sure if this is it, is that he apparently played Montparnasse in Les Mis like several times, Les Miserables, which I know you wouldn't recognize him from at all.
Oh no.
So definitely I don't know where it would be.
God, I'm only at the late 2000s and I've been scrolling for a while. This guy, I mean, it's mostly French stuff, you know. It's like you know, so I've not heard of most of this, but yeah, I do feel like it's possible he has shown up in 1 or 2 French movies I've seen, and I just like it's not clicking exactly where. But yeah, sorry, I got to the bottom of his list. I can't see anything that's sticking out to me.
He seems familiar, right? Yeah, weird.
He seems familiar for sure. So yeah. It's a beautiful looking movie, and that's important because it's kind of almost the big selling point for like a lot of it is how good it looks. So we'll get into it. I think we'll say spoilers and we'll dive in. So you have been warned, but clearly we recommend it just with the caveat that you like art house movies. That's the one the one thing. So
look, when we finally get to the full Criterion series, I feel like that's also going to be the asterisk on like most of those as well.
Most of them. I think the ones that are more like friendly to casuals, but they kind of fit into Criterion as well. Those are the ones that will sort of hit in other seasons, like when we're doing like 70s thrillers and we did Clue. That would still work for a normal person who just likes thrillers, but it's also a Criterion movie, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, let's get into it. So, you know, there's a sense of momentum to this movie. I'd almost call it the rhythm of the night.
Peter, I told you that I was going around doing some errands. As I was like sitting with this movie, and then before we started recording, I had on repeat the entire time Rhythm of the Night because it was so damn catchy.
Dude, I mean, that's the ending. Well, I mean, obviously, I don't know if I want to jump to that immediately, but it's obviously, like, I think obviously there's room for interpretation as to exactly what happens at the end and what that final scene actually means, right? Because obviously the scene right before it is, it seems like he's getting ready to kill himself, right? He's got a gun, he's making his bed with, like, and it's very neat and tidy, like you would be forced to do it in the military, and he's sitting down, and it feels like he's thinking about his time in the desert, and we see like an image of like all of his squad all standing looking happy as if it's this time in his life that he adores, and then we go to that final scene, and it's like, well, does that final represent that he's finally free because he's dead? Does it represent that he chose to live, and this is him finally, you know, kind of grabbing life? Does it represent, you know, like all these, there's like several ways you could probably, those are the two main ones that come to mind, but there's probably other like more nuanced things you could sort of try and interpret that ending as.
I find it very telling that throughout the movie we do cut to these dance clubs, and we do see that it starts there.
The very first scene in the movie, the first thing we see, I think, is the dance club, and he is there, but he is never participating. He is never dancing with the girls or with the other, because the other men, they're dancing with local girls or prostitutes, whoever they are, and they seem to be having a good time, and he never joins in. And so it's like, oh, is he finally grabbing life because he's not burdened by this pressure to be what he was trying to be his entire life? And I think there's absolutely a read in this movie that he is closeted gay, and that this is him finally unleashing that at the end. I don't think it needs to. I don't think that needs to be the case for it to work, but it certainly fits for numerous reasons.
No, there's so much in this movie that you can read into that exact reading. Like, there's, as I said during the stretching thing, there was like a whole period where that seemed like a ballet. There's also one where the best I can describe the exercise they're doing is aggressive hugging.
I thought of it as slap hugging, because they're topless and they're just sort of slapping their chests together and hugging and then doing it over and over again. And I'm like, which one of you came up with this? Because you're definitely into dudes. That's the only solution to this.
I love the way that it's portrayed, though, because, like, as you watch it, it is this idea of, like, okay, yeah, these guys seem, like, really close. Like, there's, like, this extra thing to it. But it's never portrayed in a way where it's, like, shameful. It's never portrayed in a way where, like, any character seems like they are not, like, I don't want to say into it is the thing, but, like, they're not enthusiastic about, like, participating or anything like that. If it is a closeted film, as it feels like this ending might be trying to get at, it's portraying all of the quote-unquote gay actions in a completely normal and natural light.
Yeah, and I think it's this idea of trying to conform into this very strict regime. So military's like, hey, you have to conform, you have to have your head shaved, you have to act and do what we tell you, you have to be a manly man, you have to do all these things. And then the freedom of, like, him letting, because the final, just to be clear here, whenever we reference the ending, like, the final scene of the movie is he is standing on his own in this nightclub. There's no one else around, and he starts to bob to the music, and then out of nowhere, this guy, the actor, clearly has dance skills, because he just unleashes in a way that is very impressive, and it feels like this euphoric sense of, like, release of, like, finally all of the pent up, like, all the life that he could have had just comes flushing out of him in this glorious way. It's something else. So like, looking at all this other stuff, and, like, because even this idea that he hates this new young guy Centane, at a certain point in the movie, I was like, is this because he's attracted to him? Is this him, you know, in part lashing out because he feels something for him, and that's why, or he also kind of talks about how he's jealous that the guy above him seems to like Centane. Right. And that's a part of it as well.
I would also posit the idea that, like, we see repeatedly throughout this that Galoob acts basically as a drill sergeant. Like, he's the one leading some of these exercises. He's very tough on the guys. He's very much a hard ass. Whereas Centane is characterized by the fact that he's compassionate. He is loving and all that. And if you expand out that compassion of, like, more of the idea of he's more at comfort of showing feelings, he's more with the idea of being able to have relationships with these men, whereas Galoob is closing himself off to that.
And Galoob notably says that he's frustrated that all the men seem to instantly like him, and it's almost like, oh, if I had just been like him, everyone would like me more, but I have, you know, conditioned myself into this hard ass to hide anything that and again, well, that's because he's closeted, he doesn't realize that he's gay and he's convinced himself otherwise. Or even if it's nothing to do with sexuality, even if it is just this idea of like, I have to be the idea of the manly man and nothing else, and I have to live up to that, and anything else is a weakness, anything else is seen as something that I have failed to be. Whereas Centane is like, no, I can be compassionate, I can be likable, I can be friendly with the others and look out for them. And this is like so there's lots of ways you can read as to why Gallup is jealous of him. Is it a attraction thing? Is it because he's free in a way that he's never felt, and that irritates him because he thinks, it's that idea of like, I can be that free, so no one else should be able to be that free. So, I'm coming down on you that way.
It is immediately met. Like the moment that Centane shows up, he doesn't even do anything. And immediately he's like, I don't like this guy. He is not like, I'm going to make sure that he has an absolute hellish time here.
Absolutely. And then obviously there's also just the idea that, maybe he is so committed to this military life, to the idea that the guy above him, Bruno, likes this guy more than him is so infuriating to him that also makes him act out. Like, you could read it as any of these. That's probably the least interesting of the three interpretations, to be honest, but like, they're all valid. They all work in the context of what's going on.
I mean, I would also put out the point that he goes to the club, he is there with a woman, we cut to this woman, and they seem to be, in a relationship, whatever, but it's never something that is like the focus of the plot. Like, it's always just there on the sidelines, and it almost feels like it's there for the sole purpose of showing how unimportant it is to him.
Yeah, because it's like it's very cold. He tries to do a little gesture early on by buying her something, but mostly it's just kind of like there. And one of the things that happen about a third out of the movie is that he basically wants to get the squad, and specifically Centane, away from his commander, because he doesn't want him having all the attention of the commander. So he makes up some bullshit excuse about how we have to go and fix a road somewhere. And it's just an excuse to get away from where they are and go and set up camp in the middle of the desert, so he can just have control of them out there. It doesn't seem like he cares at all that he's abandoning his local girlfriend to go and live in the desert for what might be months, So it's like...
And even when we get to the end of the movie and the fact that he has to go back to Paris, we don't get a sequence of, okay, I'm leaving,
No.
This is the end of our relationship, whatever. He's just gone.
Yeah. Because there's a scene where he's at hers and like her friends talking to her and asking about, oh, you two are thing, is that your boyfriend? Do you get on? And she's like, yeah, we got on really well. And then cut and we never see her again. It does again, it does not matter that he's ditching her and going back. And obviously all the present day stuff is it's all very much like him being just kind of sad that he's trapped in his apartment. He doesn't have anyone around him. He still sort of holds himself to a set of routines, because that obviously is how he works, but he's very lonely going through the world when he leaves his house and he goes through the city, and he feels lonely on the bus, he feels lonely on the train, he feels lonely walking down the street. There's always this sense of, and all these shots are great. Like, it's one thing to have great shots when you're in like, the salt lands and all that, and you've got like mountains in the background, or volcanoes at one point, I think they said they were, and you've got all the beautiful water. It's very easy to have very symmetrical or very beautiful, clean images. But when he's sitting on a bus, it still looks incredible, and like all the orange seats really pop, and it's like, it feels like, he's almost uncomfortable, because at least in the military, when he's away from everything and he's there on, quote unquote duty, it's almost an excuse to just not be a part of the regular world. And maybe he even likes that about it, because he doesn't have to hide in plain sight in the way, or feel trapped in the way that he does when he's back in the regular world. There's all these other elements kind of you can look into.
I mean, I definitely felt like when it came down to looking back on it, not during the first viewing, but looking back on it, it feels like all of the modern day, all of the present day stuff is basically the day that he's already made up his mind. He knows what he's going to do.
Yeah, that
and this
night,
is just like the routine. This is just the going almost... I feel like it's almost looking for a reason not to. I feel like it's going out and kind of seeing like, is there a routine in the same way that I had in the military, something that I can stick to, something that will let me continue with that lifestyle, and he just can't find it.
And he can't go back, because we'll get to the reasons why, but he was, court-martialed, he was discharged, he cannot go back. So, he sees his life as he knew it is over. Even if it was kind of a cage that he built for himself. And again, whether that's because he just couldn't be who he wanted to be in a more... obviously, there's one sexuality if he's gay, but the other one, I don't even know what you call it, but just, be himself, whatever that might mean. It doesn't have to necessarily mean that, but
yeah.
yeah, no, I mean, that stuff is all very good. You know, and it takes its time. It shows you the routines, the drills, and it's all very rhythmic, and you get this sense of like how. And when Centane shows up, there's a really nice bit where it's like, oh, he's showing them what to do for this next bit of the training, and it's like this big pit that's been dug, and he sort of jumps down and climbs back up, and he's like showing off, and there's just this shot of Centane sort of looking. It's actually the cover of the Criterion Blu-ray. It's just him standing with the blue sky above him, sort of looking. Basically like, oh sure, no problem, and then just doing it, and then just again, he doesn't say anything, he doesn't even shoot him a glance, but you can just feel, because of how well the movie's been presented from cinematography, with the little seeds of the narration from before this, that without a single word said, you can just tell he's mad. That Centane just did that effortlessly, even better than he did. You can tell that he's mad. So, you know, there's a really good job of setting these characters up so that the simplest, most subtle things have meaning to the viewer if they've been paying attention.
Yeah. No, this is there's a metaphor of, if you lock somebody in a room and you keep them there for like a year, and all that they have are pictures of a ham sandwich, eventually they're going to be able to pick out the little differences in the pictures, the little like subtle lights or whatever that make one picture better than another. They're going to find those small things. I feel like this is the movie version of that, where the plot is so ethereal. It's slow going. There's barely anything there, that those little moments, those tiny little things that happen, you're able to pick up on so delicately, of like, oh yeah, that one look is the most plot we've had for 10 minutes because it feels that important.
And there's an art to that, because like a lot of people, if they tried to do that, it would be a complete mess. It wouldn't work. It would be boring. But you know, you have a talented filmmaker, and you know, Claire Denis. I've seen a movie she did called High Life, which we did on Ace, like way back at the start of Ace, and it was okay. I didn't love it. It was kind of like, you know, it was an arty film, but it was trying hard to be arty, but it felt like it was maybe a little bit. You know, I don't know like how many of her films are considered in the same high regard as this one, but this is definitely the one that's got all the accolades.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just looking at it, it looks like, I mean, even this one was not like ridiculously high in terms of like ratings wise, but everything is at least 7s, give or take. High Life is one of the few ones that's like below a 6.
I mean, 7's actually really good on IMDb. Yeah, you shouldn't read into that. Like the only things that go above us, like into the 8s, are like the top like 20 movies of all time. So I wouldn't read too much into that.
Absolutely.
I mean, like the movie's gorgeous. It's gorgeous throughout. There's rarely a shot where I'm not sitting going, oh god, yes. Like this is what the OLED TV was built for. It was showing me this image of this, you know, this lake coming against the shore or whatever it is.
And it's so weird as well, because like when you think like, oh, let's catch some beautiful vistas and all that, and it's a French filmmaker, your mind immediately is just like, oh, the French countryside. Like, okay, that sounds it would be beautiful. But no, we're in Djibouti. Did you ever think Djibouti could look this beautiful?
I'll be honest, I don't think I heard of Djibouti before I watched this movie.
Fair enough. I don't think I could point to Djibouti on a map. It's somewhere in Africa. I got that.
Yeah, I definitely can't point to it on a map. I definitely know that. Yeah, I mean, I think that's another like element to consider here, is this idea of whether it's for the sake of showing that this character like wants so much out of the society that he's supposed to be in, that he's in this role that takes him to like a foreign land where he gets to be an outsider anyway by default, or is it part of the kind of a critique of like, you know, basically countries sending people in other places where they really don't belong, and that being part of you're going to, you know, fit into this system and regime and all the rest of it, you know?
Well, I find the fact that he's in the Foreign Legion even slightly more interesting, because the Foreign Legion is basically just an idea that if you are a foreign national, but you still want to fight for France, then you sign up for the French Foreign Legion. Like, you're not a member of France, but you can still fight in the military and all that. And that is... like that's a circle in a circle of, you're in a foreign land of Djibouti, but you're also not even a member of the country you're fighting for. So it's like 2 layers of separation from the rest of society.
Yeah. He is French, though, so I don't know if this is necessarily something that's always true of the French Foreign Legion, but my impression would be that the people in charge in the French Foreign Legion are always French. Like, they're always the ones given the orders.
Probably, yeah. But even then, like, he's surrounded by people who are foreign as well, so it gives that separation. Yeah,
there's at least one Russian guy who signs up, who they ask, like, why do you want to fight in the French Foreign Legion, and so on. And it's not a big scene, but it's just a little bit there to show that, like, part of the process.
There's a bit when they're taking down laundry, and one of the guys is learning French. Like, they're telling him what the French words are for each of these clothing pieces.
Yeah, and then there's also a moment where, I don't want to get, well, it's not that I'm trying to avoid spoilers, but I just want to explain the whole bit. But there's a moment where they say to one of the black legionnaires, hey, you're not African anymore, you're a legionnaire. And kind of like, so, again, it does have these sprinklings throughout of reminding you, most of this team are not French. They are just fighting for France, or they're not even fighting necessarily here. They're doing, you know,
peacekeeping, like just that little bit of, like, again, they're going to fix a road, you know. It's something where it's just little things.
Because I was a little bit worried when I saw, this is going to be a movie about, like, a military group. I was like, oh god, is this some, like, war that I don't know about? And luckily it's not. It's not about anything specific in any kind of history sense. It's just like, maybe this is a place that the French Foreign Legion were, and it's based on a little bit of truth in that sense, but it's not like a specific thing that you need to know about getting into the movie by any stretch.
No, not at all. It's I very quickly was driven away from this comparison because it falls apart almost instantly, but it has the ever so smallest inklings of Jarhead, like the original one, where it's this idea of it's the day-to-day of a military life. But the difference is, in Jarhead, they are desperate to go out and fight. They want to kill people. They want to actually join the war because that's what the military's conditioned them to do. In this one, it feels like the military is just, we're just here. We are a structure that exists in this land. Don't worry about it.
I like how you said the first one in the sense that anyone hearing Jarhead would assume you meant a sequel that no one saw.
Look, we both, I know that you also watch Folding Ideas. So there's the Jarhead sequels video that he did, which basically just says, like, Jarhead 1 is a completely different beast from every other sequel because that's all jingoistic propaganda.
So yeah, I mean, like, it's obviously difficult to know where to go next with this movie because it's not like it has like, there's a structure. Like, it goes in order, but it's not.
You feel, just from the way that it's like they look at each other and, like, certain things that are said, you do feel that momentum. You do feel like scene after scene follows each other. But in terms of, like, okay, if you put it into a jigsaw puzzle and said rearrange, like, put it in the correct order, it'd be difficult because it is a very slow growth. Yeah,
I mean, the first big thing, I suppose, in terms of building that animosity is, like, they have a night on the town, and it's where we see the club. Not for the first time, technically, because, like I said, it opens in the club, but they're kind of like abstract shots that are just kind of foreshadowing it later to sort of bookend the movie almost. But the Legion go to the club, and they're all in their fancy outfits, and they're talking to the girls, dancing with them, and all that. And they're kind of wandering the streets afterwards. And the first kind of big thing that really shows how much Gallop is starting to really detest them is that there's a moment where, like, one of them picks Centane up and they sort of carry them on their shoulders as if, oh, he's our hero, he's our new best friend. And the narration from Gallop as he's seeing this, looking down the street at them, is just kind of like, imagine putting one of your own on your shoulder, lifting him up in celebration. Like, he's so pissed off about it, and that's like, okay, from this point on, you hate his guts. You are looking for a reason to get rid of him. You know,
and, like, that's before the obstacle course or anything as well. Like, that's just like the very first thing we even have happen in this whole section. And then, I mean, if we're talking about, like, little things that happen before the next big plot point, he does try to convince his superior officer, Bruno. He's, like, coming in saying, like, hey, you might want to keep an eye on that guy. He's no good. He's bad news. And superior officer's like, that ain't cool, dude. Don't do that. Back off.
He basically says, oh, backstabbing is not the trait of a legionnaire. Like, he clearly very much believes in the Legion and all that. He gets all hoity-toity about it. And but the ultimate thing, though, the plot thing that happens later on is that two of the guards, or two of the legionnaires, are on duty just patrolling their base in the desert, and one of them goes to the bathroom, and out comes Gallop and says, where's the other Legionnaire? He's like, oh, he went to go to the bathroom. He's like, so he abandoned his post? Like, no, he went to the bathroom. So he abandoned his post. So he punishes this guy the next day by making him dig a hole. And he's like, just keep digging till I tell you to stop. Like, you're digging now. And in his narration, he even, like, sort of at one point here says, oh, that compass. Like, it's kind of, like, hinting at what he's doing. Yeah. And basically, he wants to provoke Centane enough that Centane will do something to get into trouble, and then he can punish him with this. And he does. So Centane tries to give this guy who's digging water, and Gallop comes out and kicks it out of his hand and says, no.
And slaps Centane in the face.
Yeah. So Centane has had enough. He punches Gallop in the face.
So, all right. That shot of him punching Gallop in the face.
It's stylized. It's very stylized.
It's very stylized. It made me question, do you think this actually happened, or do you think Gallop just said it happened?
Oh, that's an interesting thing to posit. I thought it was just a stylistic kind of... Because they do it in kind of slow motion, and it feels almost like kind of very fake, but in a way that kind of works with what they're... You know, it works in the moment for what it's doing. But, that's interesting. Yeah, is he just going to... I mean, the guy digging would have seen it, so I presume that, you know...
I mean, fair, but it's also a thing of the superior officer... like giving word against like a lower officer.
Yeah.
Like theoretically you would just take the superior officer's word.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, regardless, yeah. I mean, he punches him, and the punishment is going to be, oh, we're going to drive you out into the middle of the desert, and you have to walk back. But the thing here is that he has tampered with his compass. Gallop has sabotaged the compass, so it won't actually lead him where he needs to go. And we see Centane kind of like wandering through the desert. I honestly... At one point it cut away and it cut back to him, but it started off on a close-up of the ground. And I'll be honest, I have never seen this type of like ground up close before.
Deposits.
Yeah, because it's like little salt rocks that make kind of like it's almost like a hard styrofoam looking like ground. And I was like, damn, that looks really weird and alien-like almost. Like, I've never seen it up the close like that.
No, dude, if you look up like high salt lakes, like lakes with very high salt percentage, and then see what happens when they shrivel up and, you know, go through a drought and then re-come out. That's why salt flats exist. That's why like it all looks that size. But I have never seen one this pronounced either. And it's absolutely gorgeous. Like the shots that they get of just this... It's a solid white with this corner of blue where the lake is, and you just see Centane walk up. And like, again, anyone who knows about saltwater knows, number one thing, you don't drink it. It doesn't matter how thirsty you are. You don't drink the salt water.
Having said that, though, I get why he's been walking in the desert. He's dehydrated, how desperate he is. I get why you say, oh, I'm just going to do it anyway. Like, I understand why you get to that point, but...
Absolutely. But then, you see him like take some sips, and then like very next shot is him like collapsed on his back. The salt has managed to like blow into his shirt, his like jacket, to the point where it's starched and is able to like stand upright to provide him shade.
Because he tries to move it at one point and it's like a solid object, it's almost like a jacket in a video game before they had like enough physics to make it flop. So it just looks like it's like a rigid jacket. But yeah, I mean, so everyone kind of presumes that he is either dead or he's deserted and he's ran away. I don't think they even said dead. Like, I think they were all like, he should have been able to find his way back after the abuse he took. I think that he deserted. Like, that seems to be the general consent there. But the commander comes up because he actually showed up already. He found where they were like 20 minutes ago and has been around again since. And he's like, yeah, you're done, Gallop. You like gave him this punishment and like this is on you for... Yeah.
To be clear, what the other bit that happens is they meet with some locals who are doing some trading.
Yes.
And one of the things that they find there is the compass. Like, the compass was found by these locals.
That's right. You're right.
They pass it over, and one of the guys who was the friend of...
It's like a market, right? People are selling stuff, and clearly this has been found, and it's like, hey, this one of them recognizes, oh, this was Centane's compass, so clearly... Yeah. They've noticed that it's been tampered with, and that's kind of the smoking gun.
And that's what gets them to be like, okay, you sent him out there with a messed up compass. This is on you. We all know that you did it. Like,
now, for the sake of the audience, we get to see that some locals do find Centane and save him, so he is not dead.
Yes.
You know, we don't get to know where he went after, but we see them put him into a van, they give him some water. He seemingly is on a path to recovery in some form. But, you know, Gallup's getting sent home, he's getting court-martialed, and we skip over what that court-martial is and what it's like and what the result is and all that. We just know that he is back in France, living a very unhappy life after all this is over. And...
Okay, that's totally valid. I was under the impression
it hadn't happened
that
yet?
he hasn't been court-martialed yet, but like,
fair enough.
he knows it's going to happen.
Yeah, honestly, I have no reason to necessarily argue and say that it hasn't happened yet. I just kind of assumed it was some time later, but yeah, I mean, you might be right. Maybe the actual court-martial hasn't happened yet. I guess I just assumed that would happen like as soon as he got back, but I could. Yeah. I mean, I have no idea what the timeline would be on that. So
no, yeah, that's fair entirely. The only other thing that I would want to mention before we get to the end is way back towards the beginning, before any of that stuff happened. One of the other things that gets Centane major brownie points with the rest of the group is there was a helicopter that had a mishap and ended up crashing into the water where they were camped out near, and Centane dived into the water and saved somebody, and so they all treat him as a hero. Yeah, like one of the people in the helicopter, because just a training exercise went wrong, the helicopter went down, and we don't see this, we kind of just sort of like come into the aftermath of it, of like Centane going in and dragging this guy, and there's a bit of debris, there's a bit of smoke, but we don't, didn't have the budget for the big helicopter crash. But honestly, it wouldn't have fit in what this movie is to have that anyway. So yeah, they all treat him like a hero, which again just makes Gallup more like, oh god, this has just solidified how much they love him. No, I hate this. That dick saving lives. How dare he?
Yes, making me look inferior. Even though, it's very much a complex he has. It's obviously Centane's not actually doing anything wrong or to make him look bad. And
that's also the other thing, is that everyone else in the group recognizes this. Like, it's not a thing where like he's good at keeping this secret or whatever. Everyone's like, no, Centane, Gallup has it out for you. You need to be careful, because like he's gonna make your life hell here. Yep.
So yeah, I mean, like the ending is, like we've seen him, like we cut back every so often to him going through the city or going home or whatever, and at the end when he's making his bed and he's doing all this stuff, he has a gun, and we don't see the outcome of this. We see this shot of like all the men, right, but as if he's having a memory of all them before he does this, and then the ending's him in the nightclub on his own, where he unleashes and he finally is free, and like he's not burdened by this content that he had the entire time. It's honestly, like, I really liked the movie before then. Like I thought it was visually so stunning that I was into the mood piece of it. But, maybe there was a ceiling there, and then the ending was kind of like, oh no, but now you're going to think about, like, what was confining him into this role the entire time. Why did he feel this way? Why was he so vindictive? Why does he feel, like, trapped in this own version of himself? And then here he is unleashing. And again, how do you want to read this then? Do you read this as him finally getting to be free in, like, some sort of afterlife? I mean, it's definitely symbolic that it's the same nightclub that they were all in earlier in the film, because it's kind of like, oh, maybe that's when he would have wanted to have let out who he really was and be free, but he couldn't, but now he gets to do that here.
So I'm going to say this, and I want to stress that the movie we are presented is the movie that we judge based off of. According to Wikipedia, and they have a reference for this, so I assume that it's true, is originally, as they were shooting, this was meant to be placed before he left, like after he was court-martialed, was going to be court-martialed, but before he left Djibouti. This was him like breaking free and just like having one last dance here.
The decision to move that was impeccable.
Inspired.
Yeah, because having this be the ending and having this be kind of like the moment where it's almost like even if he did do what it seemed like he was about to do, this is like, at least he's finally free from like this like kind of miserable life he was kind of putting himself into, and part of it was his own doing, but also part of it is the expectations around him to fit into a certain role. And like even if you never like see this idea of like the people who drilled it into him, because you never see that, we only see kind of in the context of where it is, it definitely feels like, no, he is here in this role because he feels like this is what he's supposed to be, and everything around him kind of reinforces that to a certain point. So
no, I mean, I I think that if that was put in the place where it was originally scripted to be, we wouldn't be talking about this movie right now. I think that the ending, while the rest of the movie is great and it is a fantastically well shot movie, the thing that sticks with you that like really drives home is that ending.
It's an inspired choice, and it's because it's such a simple thing. It's him just like starting off, just standing there, music's playing, and he starts to get into it, and then he just unleashes, and it's like this weight is lifted, and he finally gets to be who he wants to be. And whatever that means, you can interpret as you like. But it feels like such a thing that makes you think, oh, this recontextualizes the rest of the movie in the sense that before I was sort of viewing it as we're following this from the perspective of the villain, effectively, who has got it out for someone else. And this makes me think about the rest of the movie and go, oh, if this is what he wanted to be the entire time, then why was he the way he was? Is this why he was unhappy? Or is this a symptom of this? Like it made me think about the rest of it in a way that enhanced everything else in a really good way.
Yeah, no, it's showing like everything else is so stylized from a visual perspective, but so literal, so bathed in reality of this guy just going about his military day. To have this at the end is the final showing of like, this is what I always wanted it's the sort of thing that happens in musicals and stuff like that, where all of a sudden a character will burst into song, and it's not meant to be taken that they're actually singing. It's just the idea of we're showing their innermost desires through this different medium. And that's what this feels like here. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, as obviously the fact that it's empty kind of does make it feel more dreamlike or more like, is this the afterlife? But if you want to believe, no, this is him going to an empty club because he chose not to shoot himself. And he went out and unleashed this way instead. Like this was him getting it all out of his system in a more healthy way. I mean, you can read it that way if you want. I don't think there's anything to suggest that you shouldn't read it that way if you want to. I don't know which version I like more, to be honest. Like, I really haven't decided.
I mean, I think there is something sublime to the tragedy of it. The idea of, he always could have had this. It's not it was something, like you said, a cage of his own design. It's this idea that he's the one who was keeping himself from doing this, and he was trying to drag others down with him. But yeah, he always could have had this potential of being happy, being who he wanted to be. You read it in the context of Closet, it's a sad story of a man who just couldn't be himself for whatever reason.
Yeah, it fits so well into the closeted thing. I keep saying it doesn't have to be that, but it fits so well into it because this idea of like, I've made myself miserable because I am stopping myself from being happy. That I want everyone else to be that as well, right? If I'm making myself miserable, if I have to pay my university debt, then so should you, right? That it's that type of logic.
Yeah.
And it's tragic. It is a tragedy of a movie, but not in the sense that I think it seems like at face value up front, which is, it's the tragedy of how he screwed over this young guy and almost got him killed. No. The tragedy is that he is this much of an asshole because he doesn't need to be. And it's a really strong character analysis because of that. And it makes you think about why he is this way. So,
fantastic.
Yeah, the ending's a banger. Like the ending, like just like seeing him just let loose to this super 90s song is just something else. And the fact that he's got the moves to back it up, where he's spinning on the floor and doing all sorts of quick stuff that I can't even fathom.
I wonder, like, obviously he's had a very long and storied career up to this point, so I'm assuming he's just well known. Like, I'm assuming in French cinema he is just a well known actor. But I'm curious if like the audition process was like, hey, we want you in this movie, and he's like, oh, by the way, I can also dance. Or they were like, hey, we want you in this movie, can you dance? Like, was this something that came with the territory?
I mean, I think it's interesting though, because he's a well-known performer in a physical sense, where people know he can dance and they know he can do lots of flashy stuff. It is interesting to, if you know that going in, to watch this movie where he's playing a very serious character who does nothing of the sort the whole time, and then he finally gets to like show off what he can do in that final 2 minutes. Is very interesting to me. And then like there's a wonderful contrast of this dancing of him in the end at the nightclub versus all of the routine like drills of like whether it's the running over courses, the climbing across ropes, or the like you said, the on the ground synchronized swimming looking part of it. Because there's even one where they're kind of in a circle and they're kind of stomping their feet in kind of a rhythm.
Oh yeah,
and that's very musical and very and when I say musical, I don't mean like in a movie musical sense, but musical in the sense that there is a rhythm and there's a beat, and it's like a version of dance, but it's like in this military, like, you know, container.
Well, just to extend on that a little bit, the idea that every single time that we see him doing this stuff beforehand, it's with this structure. It's very much this idea of controlled, everyone's doing the same thing, synchronized, stuff like that. When he dances at the end, though, it's freeform. There is no pattern. There is no rhythm to it. Like, every single step he takes is just fluid into the next one, and nothing ever repeats. And I think there's absolutely some symbolism in that of when he's finally free of the military stuff. It's when he's finally able to go freeform as well.
I mean, that's the key word there, free. It's freedom. Like, there's a sense of freedom to this at the end, whoever you want to interpret it. Like, regardless of what you think it represents in like every other sense, the one thing you cannot deny is that he feels free in this moment. And like, that's... And because it's a character who, like I said, is kind of like... He's the protagonist, but he's kind of the villain to a point. It's very interesting that I think you feel kind of happy for him in this moment, regardless of that, because you're like, it's actually good that you get to move beyond what you were and you get to be this instead. That is good for you, and it's good, you know, even if you are dead, like, it's good for any spirits around you that you're not going to be a dick anymore. You get to actually be the best version of yourself.
I find that very interesting with this movie as well, is that him being the protagonist, I feel like almost any other movie would either have the audience believing Centane is also a dick, and then like it's just shown through that lens, or making the audience question whether Centane is a dick. But this movie gives absolutely nothing, where at every point Centane is like a chill, nice dude. There is nothing in this to say that he's ever the actual way that Gallup sees him as. So throughout the whole thing, you're against Gallup in the way that he's viewing things, but because we're in his head, we're implied to be like, okay, fine, continue. Like, we're just being dragged along with the idea of, okay, if we're going to keep continuing down this road, what are you going to do about it?
And it gives it like just a slight edge because we're in his head and not someone else's, because he has like these more negative views on everything, so we get kind of this lens that's a little bit different despite all the pretty vistas we're looking at and all that. There's this air of like content, you know, kind of baked into it, and that gives it just a little bit of space that which, you know, if anything separates it from something like Perfect Days, it's that there's not a shred of contempt in that man in Perfect Days.
No,
he's an angel. So I think that works for the mood and the tone as it goes, because it gives it that just extra little bit of space on top of just all the other things it's doing with the routine and the visuals and all that. But no, I mean, honestly, I'm impressed because it's like, I think early on I was like, oh, it's an art house movie that's going to be very slow and methodical and do a lot of kind of, you know, meditative stuff. And I think for a minute I was like, okay, I know what this is. And I just kept watching and I was like, yeah, this might be very good. In fact, I'm liking the visuals the more it goes. This is definitely, but it still kind of fit into this box in my head of just this type of movie. Like, I'm like, I know what type of movie this is.
Right.
And then the ending surprised me into thinking, oh no, this had a little bit more juice than I was giving it even credit for, even whilst being positive already. And I think that's something. That is really worth something.
Absolutely. I like I said, as we were going through the movie, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to talk about this. And coming out of it, I still wasn't sure, but I think it is impressive to me that if someone asked me to say, like, what kind of movie is this? Like, how would you define it? Even saying art house feels like it's not quite descriptive of it. Like, it's completely its own thing at a certain point.
I think it's still a good word to use, though, because I think the people who aren't going to like it are going to be turned away with the word art house. So it's going it's going to filter out the people who would hate it, and I think that there's a value in that.
Yeah, almost certainly.
Yeah, I think that's a way of looking at it. It's so... I think what fascinates me so much is that I feel like there's going to be a nice wide array from people who like the movie, what they feel at the end. When they see him dancing at the end, do they feel happy? Do they feel sad? Do they feel a mix? And I think all of those are possible and valid, depending on how you're reading that final sequence and what it means.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
that's great. All right, David, what are you rating Beau Travail out of 10?
Oh boy. I think Beau Travail. I don't even know how you're going to react to this. I think it's a 9 out of 10. Good.
I feel pressure to react now in one way or the other. I don't know why you prefaced that with how are you going to react to this.
Because like we did nothing but just talk about like how fantastic the movie is, and I don't know why in my body I can't say 10. It just doesn't feel like it quite gets to that point. But like I have no like if you asked me what isn't getting it there, I can't tell you.
Wait, so you think I would be surprised that you're not higher? Is that what your expectation was there?
A little bit, because I feel like you're going to go higher. I feel like you're going to be higher than a 9 for me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm misreading this.
Maybe you should stop worrying about what I'm going to say. Maybe that's the lesson here. Because I'm giving it a 9, and I think that fits very well. I mean, obviously we did the ratings rundown for Patreon, and I feel like what the score I gave all those categories when I think about where it lands after all those, I think a 9 makes a lot of sense for me. So 9 out of 10. It's great. It's great. You know, it was probably like an 8 on its visuals alone, and then that last 2 minutes like elevated at that full point until like no, this ending made it memorable in a way that it's going to stick with me. So great stuff. That is Beau Travail. I suppose we have to also decide if it makes the cut. It clearly does.
It does, and I feel like any time that we've got double 9s, it's a cut above. Like there's no way we can argue against that, right?
9-9. I just started watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine from the start again, so it's in my head.
Yeah, that's fair. I thought you were just a doubly angry German man.
No.
Oh, okay.
No. I was going for Brooklyn Nine-Nine's rally cry, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I'm like 3 episodes into it. I'm not very far, but like I never had watched the last 2 seasons, but I got it all cheap a few weeks ago when it was on sale, so I'm just starting from the start. Be a fun time. Anyway, you're not here to hear me talk about Brooklyn Nine-Nine, folks. We're here to talk about a Criterion movie. Although having said that, in the very first episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, they're debating what the best cop movie is, and Jake says Die Hard because he loves Die Hard. I mean, I would argue, it's a cop's in it. I wouldn't know if I'd call it a cop movie per se, but
yeah,
whatever.
That needs to have more procedural to be a cop movie.
And Terry comes over and says Francois Truffaut's Breathless. What? Terry likes foreign films. And I sort of chuckled and went, that's a Criterion. Good job, Terry.
I'm penciling that into the Criterion season now.
Anyway, so there you go. So this was kind of a standalone thing, although it's kind of tying into a Criterion season we're doing in about a month and a half, 2 months from now. So next week we're doing Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey as a standalone. Kind of think of it as an expansion to our previous Nolan season we did like 2 years ago. Actually 3 years ago. Damn, time flies. But that's like an add-on to that. Plus we get to talk about The Odyssey, which seems like a big movie to talk about. And then a week after that, our new season begins, which is Submarine season, which will be tackling movies from the 50s all the way up till early 2000s, is the span of those over 6 weeks. So we're looking forward to that. So please do join us. Otherwise, of course, you can support everything over at Patreon, patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. You get the ratings rundown segment for each episode, and you get the monthly bonus show, Extra Reels, where we review some of the worst movies of all time. In many ways, it's the opposite of reviewing a Criterion movie. It's the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah. And strangely enough, Armageddon can show up on both of them.
It kind of can, actually. So yeah, we did Catwoman for June, the 2004 Catwoman movie. It lives up to every bit of what do we call it? Reputation
Infamy?
That it has.
Oh, okay.
Reputation was the word I was blanking on for some reason.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so check out Extra Reels. But anyway, yeah, thanks to everyone who already supports us via there. Or alternatively, you can do YouTube membership and get most of the same stuff if that's more convenient for whatever reason. But thank you to everyone who does. It keeps everything going. But that is the show. Thank you for joining us on Collector's Cut. We do appreciate it. Keep watching movies, and if you can get it, it's always nice to have diplomatic immunity.